Hey, everybody, welcome to my podcast, The Process to Your Promise. I am your host, Lady Bridget, and today we're going to be discussing the process to your promise. I have my co host here, my husband, the love of my life, Asa Rankins, who will be my co host for today. How you doing, babe?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good. So, I wanted to start this podcast. The name was the podcast originally supposed to have been Rags to Riches. Um, but that's kind of cliche-ish, you know,
Right.
coming from rags to riches. So you thought of a good title, The Process to Your Promise. Why did you think of that title?
Because I believe that everyone should know the beginning stages to where someone got from point A to point B or from point A to point Z. And I believe that's by telling the story of how we got in there.
Oh, okay. So do you want to light us on how? I mean, I know how we got to our promise, but would you like to examine? Would you like to talk about how we got to the promise that we have now?
Sure. Well, as you know, about I'll say around 2007, I almost passed away with congestive heart failure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, wasn't able to work anymore. Tried a lot of different scenarios or different ways of to create avenues of revenue.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Started my carpet company. That was great, and didn't end the way that I thought it should. It's a trait that I always have from my father. Um, Tried different other ways of tried marketing with a certain company. That was great for a while, but it wasn't what was destined for us.
Mm-hmm.
As a visionary, my family wasn't what God had placed into my heart to be a provider for my family. The scripture says that he said he'll bless us, not just us, but our seed seeds and our seed seeds. So the trade was great, but I believe there was something greater to get us to where it's generational wealth and carries on beyond when we're not here
Mm-hmm.
and when our children are here and on and on and on. It's something that will be around to the end of time.
Let's talk about your process on the dialysis. 2007, you almost passed away. They only gave you 3 hours to live. It was the most scariest thing of my life, um, because when they was telling me that you should have been at the hospital the day before, but instead you went to go to a football game and watch my son play football 3 hours away. Um, but you got there, and while you were asleep, the doctor started yelling at you and fussing. I was like, hold up, hold up, hold up. Let's not argue with him now. Let's do the surgery, and you can argue with him when he wake up. You know, I know that was scary for me. How did you feel about it? I know it was a scary thing because you know the 3 hours, giving somebody 3 hours to live. I was like, wait, God, I got 4 kids. I can't. I can't be no widow right now. So that was really scary for me. Going through that process, and even watching you go through dialysis and how you used to come out and used to cry because you like, I can't do this, babe. And I remember one particular time you came out of the dialysis room and your pants fell out. Remember that?
That's the very first week.
Yeah,
From going from 245 pounds in 1 week, all the way down to 150 pounds
yeah.
in 1 week. So I believe that's 90 pounds I lost in 1 week.
In 1 week, right,
And those thought I was sick or I was on drugs
right,
because of the drastic weight I lost because of the fluid that was on my body.
right,
I
right,
always been around from high school between 175 to 190 in high school. Being married, we pick up a little extra weight. So around then I was a good average around like 190 to like 215.
mm-hmm.
But due to the fluid that was around my heart, I ballooned all the way to 245. I went from a size 32, waist 32 to a waist 40.
Right, right.
Um, and coming from passing away after they removed all the fluid off of me, I think it was like 7 liters of fluid
Yes.
from around my heart, 7 to 9 liters of fluid, all the way down to 150 pounds. Um, that was a drastic change in a matter of 5 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the good thing about it that I believe the reason why I didn't pass away in the 3 hours that man have given me because the place of success that God have us for right for this point right now.
Hmm. Yeah. You're right. You're right.
There's I just want to share. There's a lot of things we go through, and um, and we want it to happen then, but it's not the right time. Like I say, I try avenues of different things. Creative, I've always been a hustler. Creative to make, try to get wealth, but it wasn't the wealth that was assigned to my life.
Right.
All right, Isaiah, real quick, Isaiah 60 and 22 is out the Bible. It's the least of you will become 1,000, the smallest mighty nation. I am the Lord. In its time, I will do this swiftly. So I was looking for that time to be in my struggle when I'm going through, being evicted over 17 times,
17 times.
over about 12 cars repossessed,
Living in a hotel.
living in a hotel,
Yeah.
sometimes with family members. And a lot of people see the success part, but not the story behind the success. It sounds cliche, because everybody says, "You see my glory, but not my story," and that's really true because we see how people got or where the people are now, but not what they have to go through.
Yeah.
Now, everybody's process is different,
Hmm.
and through faith, I believe through your podcast you have the process of your promise that by way of faith and through faith that people can succeed to come to their promise and to their point of success in their life, to their summit, to the peak of their success. Um, and, to go through what we went through, like I say, repossession, evicted, living
It
out
was
of
it was
car.
it was times we didn't know where the money was coming from when we were staying in a hotel, but God always provided for us. That day, we would unload our put the stuff in our truck in our car, and then we would ride around, and God made provision for us to stay the next night that night in the hotel. So it was a struggle. It was a struggle.
So I believe that's almost like a wilderness experience, how God every day fed the people with manna. Each day he did it each day. No one's supposed to save nothing. And that's how it was. We was depending on God day by day
Day by day, yeah.
to do what he needed to do so we can have a place to lay our head for that night.
Yeah.
And then after a while, he placed favor on us in the hotel we were staying in. And they forgive us for some nights, gave us nights free. And then they said, "Why don't you give us this once a week?"
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we were able to maintain that. That's something that we can do. And that's why I want to say this, to be encouraged, because God can take the pressure out of your struggle.
Yes. Mm.
And, with the pressure, what I mean, I call it applied pressure. We start worrying about how I'm going to do this and how I'm going to do that. But if we just have faith in God, he'll take the pressure out of our struggle.
Amen. Amen. He did. He took the pressure. He took the pressure out of us because then we found favor where we was able to go into these houses. Even though we was evicted out of one, but it was one right around the corner. Like not specifically saying around the corner from that house, but we would get evicted out of a house, and like the next day or 2 days later or a week later, we were moving into another house. And
Same
what
size or either bigger.
same size or even bigger, and we never had to pay a security deposit. We never had to pay a security deposit because the handiwork that you did, and we were able to fix up the house. We was able to paint the house. We was able to at our liking the house that we want, the color that we wanted to paint.
Our desire.
Yeah, at our desire, we was able to do that, and that knocked away some of our security
Thousands
deposit.
of dollars.
Yeah, that knocked away some of our
And
security
also the
deposit.
gift of gab, because I remember one time during the storm of Sandy,
Hmm.
um, we had no money. We just had my disability money that we were living off of, from being on dialysis for 3.5 years. And Sandy, it came in 2012, I believe,
Hmm.
and our lights were out. We were staying in Marsville at the time, and our lights were out. And we went to a certain hotel, 5-star hotel. Um, it's really funny. We said, "You're struggling. Why are you going to such an expensive hotel?" Because we were just riding the favor.
Right.
And you went up, I remember, to the desk clerk, and you came back. You said, "It's $400 something a night
Hmm.
for a queen a double bedroom, and that's because they hiked it up because of the situation, sand, and everybody was
Right.
going. So you said, babe, go over there and flirt with her for a little bit, and
Because he is a flirt. He is a
and
flirt.
get the price down. So I'm looking like I got a hall pass. Wait a minute, I'm looking. I'm like, is this like a catch 22? Like, what's really going on?
Right, right,
Am I gonna get in trouble here? I'm looking like, what's going on?
right.
Am I gonna get put out? I already was out because the lights were out. I'm gonna get put out on the street now. And so I go over there and I started talking to her, and she said, smile at her. You always smiling. And I went over and I was smiling at her, and I came back.
And I sat in that chair. I didn't say nothing, but I was watching, and I sat in that chair. I didn't say nothing.
And I came back, and she said, what? I said, we got the room for $129 a night. You said that room was $400 something. I said, well, we got it for 129. You
Well,
told me
that's because that room was that much because we had
it was a suite.
two. It was a suite. It was two king size beds in there. It was a king size pull out chair, and it was another kind of bed because it was like six of us.
It was two
Six of us.
sofa beds. One was a queen, one was a king,
Yes,
and
and
then the regular two king size.
right, and it was because it was like six of us that was in there, and there was enough room for all of us. That's why
Yeah,
we paid $199 because of the flirt. He's a
one
flirt,
twenty
but
nine.
129, for that house, for that suite.
That's
But
because in your struggle, not only will he take the pressure out of the struggle, but he would take the pressure out and replace it with favor.
yes,
And we wrote that favor
yeah, we did.
all the way to where we are now,
Yeah, we did. We wrote that favor because
from
we
not having to a place where we're comfortable
right,
and desire, and from getting a car, repossess it, able to go to a car lot and purchase the car right out, no matter
right,
what the price is.
right, right, right. You're right. It was we wrote the favor. That we were the favor of God. Even in our struggle, we still had favor because we never slept in a car. We never didn't have a place to stay that night. We it was the favor of God, and all glory go to God for that. Because of His favor He placed on my life,
I think we was
placed
going
on
to
our
ask,
life.
the engineer. I started asking the engineer, hey, can we squat over there? We struggling. Because the engineer that's engineering now, like, we struggling. Can we get a spot? You know what I mean? But it was like, but I had to. What taught me in our struggle, from being on welfare and from being on disability to now being multimillionaires,
Mhm.
okay, is that I had to humble myself.
Mhm.
Where I used to have pride, I'm not asking nobody for anything. And I know those that's listening or watching can agree. Sometimes our pride
Yeah.
will be a stumbling block
Mhm.
in our process to where we're trying to get.
Mhm.
And I realized that in the process of the struggle,
Mhm.
and when the company that we just opened, a few years ago, what God blessed us with, um, I used to get upset
Mhm.
and say, I am done doing this. I'm not filling out no more, because I was hitting stumbling blocks, and I was hitting buildings in the way, and like so many snags and so much red tape. And it came to me, said, won't you make daily goals?
Right.
So I was, during the process, I was making daily goals. Each day I had a different goal, and it made it easier for us to accomplish the main goal.
Right. Right.
So we had goals within the ultimate goal.
Right. We did. We did.
So doing the small goals, this today I want to do this. Okay, I check that off. Tomorrow I want to do this, and the daily goals, it took the pressure out of the struggle.
Right. Because instead of trying to reach that big goal, we conquer a lot of the little goals that we had, and it kept putting us up a step higher, a step higher towards the big goal. Yep,
Right?
you're right.
And it's something like, I'm not trying to be deep or anything, but we are who we are. Um, like with Abraham,
Mhm.
he said, "Go up to the mountaintop, make this sacrifice."
Mhm.
And when he went up to the mountaintop, there was a ram in a bush.
Mhm.
So I believe in our struggles, we still heard God,
Right. Right.
right?
Mhm.
We found the bush,
Mhm.
which was the business,
Mhm.
and we located the ram.
Yes.
So if we hear God, find the bush, and locate the ram, it made our process a lot easier.
Mhm.
And we were able to maintain the favor and all of that. The mini goals, the small goals, the daily goals helped us get to where we were. It pulled the pressure out,
Mm-hmm.
so I was no longer frustrated because I was accomplishing something now.
Mm-hmm.
It was such a reach to get to the ultimate goal to where we are now. But when we decided to make these small goals, let's do this today. Hey, babe,
Right.
let's do this tomorrow.
Right.
And we, put on our calendar, we prioritize ourselves.
Right. Right.
And once we prioritize ourselves, the smaller goals eventually got us to where we are now,
Right.
to a place of comfortability.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Not one, we don't have to wonder when we're going to lay our head down.
Right.
But while we're here, there are, I'll say, attacks that would try to take things away.
Mm-hmm.
Like we were riding home today. We're coming from Home Good.
Mm-hmm.
And someone called on the phone. Hey, Bridget, we have an investor here that's going to pay cash for your house.
Right.
You said, what house? And you gave them the address. They call out the address. You said, oh, no, bye. We're not interested. They said, okay. So there are ways, people are still trying to be cunning to take
Right.
what you work hard for.
Right. Right. Right.
So if you don't understand, if you don't appreciate your struggle, it's easier to surrender
Mm-hmm.
voluntarily your promise.
Your promise. Right. You're right. You're right.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so
I know I
let's.
can talk a lot.
Yeah, you can. But anyway, that's good, babe. You're doing good. That's good. Let's switch it from natural now to spiritual. Going through your process, spiritual, because we were in ministry since 2020, 2007. We had to give up ministry because you were sick.
Hmm.
Um, can you talk about that a little bit?
Oh, that was a rough time. That
It
was a
was.
rough, rough time.
It was.
Reason why it was rough, even during when I was, because I was trying it while I was sick,
Right.
because we never took money from the ministry.
Right.
We was a small ministry growing, so whatever money we came in, it can't come to me,
Right.
come to us. It went towards to a building just so we
Right.
can have a place to worship.
Right. Right. Right.
So it seems like anything, everything that God have given us,
Mm-hmm.
we worked for it.
Right. Right.
And that was a struggle alone because I would get words of confidence. We call it prophecy.
Mm-hmm.
But for those that don't understand, words of confidence and encouragement. Hey, God's going to do this for you. God's going to do that for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't wonder where it was. I couldn't figure where it would come from because right now I'm struggling. I see people getting this. I see people getting that.
Yeah, I used to be so mad with you sometimes because
Watch yourself.
I recall, I recall numerous times where you prophesied to people about houses and about
Cars,
cars
jobs,
and jobs
and
and
money.
money, and
Oh my.
I used to be so mad because I was like, why is he prophesying this to them and he knows we need a house? Why is he prophesying that to them? He knows we need a car. Why is he prophesying them about money? And he know we need money. I used to be so angry with you sometimes. So when we get in the car on our way home, I wouldn't say anything because I was hurt. I was upset. I don't know if I was upset with you or if I was upset with God
I just got the answer right. I never
because
figured out till now.
because because I was I was in a we were in a desperate, I don't want to say desperate state, but we
We
was
was in a
in a,
desperate state. You had to put it what it is.
okay, we was in a desperate state of needing all those things. And I was really upset because I was like, how, God, how can you bless this person? And I know they're not doing right. How can you do this? And I know they're not doing right. How can they and I know they're not doing right. So I was really upset with God, and I was upset with you because I'm like, God, why you not why is he blessing them people? Why are you giving them a word for them, and we, we need the house. I was upset with you about that.
Well, for one, you said you had I'll say, a feeling per se, allegedly that they weren't doing right
Right.
because only God knows all things,
Mm-hmm.
but God knows their heart.
Mm-hmm. But I knew for sure some of them
But
was
I'm just saying,
okay.
allegedly,
Okay.
whether we know for sure or not, we still not in position to judge anyone.
Right. Right.
All right, let me just stop right there for a minute because even though, watch this, even though Moses was disobedient when all he was to speak to the rock, He was upset
Right.
because he was in a desperate, like a desperate situation. He wanted to
Right.
get out what he was in.
Right.
So he was upset. So he smoked the rock when God told him to speak to it.
Right.
But because of the prior word before his sin,
Right.
or before his error, or before his slip up, the word will not come out to God's void. It's going to accomplish what it was sent out to do. It's going to, it's going to
Right.
establish, it's going to fulfill what it was sent out to do.
Right.
So the rock still produced the water.
Right.
So regardless of what state of mind they were in then, the word was already sent. Say that to that individual,
Right.
right? Now, I got the answer just now sitting here. He wanted to see if he can trust me to speaking to those with the promise what I was asking him for.
Wow. Wow.
So can God trust us to speak life to somebody else, even though we're suffering
Wow.
at that moment?
Mm.
The house, the car, the job, and everything, and to bring us to a point to where we are now.
Right. Right.
You know, and I remember one time we had a Black History concert, and a young lady was in the church in ministry singing, and she was upset because she was struggling. And the Spirit Lord said, "Go prophesy to her."
Mm.
Since we were on the spiritual room, so I went to her and I said, "I don't know why I'm telling you this." I said, "I don't know what you're going through, but before the winter changed the spring, God's going to change your financial situation."
Right.
And a few weeks before spring came, their family hit the lottery. Each of them had 25 point something million dollars.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, oh my God, my ship has sailed, it's coming in. I'm going to get a blessing. You know, it never happened. I never hit that individual up
Right.
because I believe, okay, one day God had to reward me for just carrying his word.
Right.
The mailman don't get paid that sometimes that exact day he delivered the mail, that's his payday.
Right.
His job just to drop the mail off,
Right.
knowing that one day I'm going to get paid for what I'm doing.
Right. Right.
And so I took on that mentality. I'm just going to deliver this mail. I'm going to get my check after a while.
Right.
I didn't know our check was going to be this big,
Mm-hmm.
but we got it.
It's a saying that I found on Facebook, and I saw that a couple days ago.
Mm-hmm.
It said a pastor can be walking through their own personal trauma while still preaching you into your triumph. And it says, so keep your pastor lifted in prayer. They need that too. So and I was like, wow. I said that just really hit home because you were still preaching. You were and half of the time people didn't know what we was going through. You were still preaching,
Water off,
water off,
living in a hotel,
living in a hotel,
still preaching.
and still preaching. People half of people really didn't really know, the things that you were going through. You were still preaching, as if everything was all okay.
That's why it's important to always pray for someone, regardless, beyond the smile, regardless
Right,
of the smile.
right,
We still should pray for someone,
right, right,
because you never just because they're smiling, you never know that they're going through inside or at home,
right,
and that's why a lot of people shouldn't judge no one how they praise God
right,
because you never know what they're going through.
right,
You never know what they've been through.
right,
And we all have our measure of faith. We all have our measure of gift.
mm,
But we all have our measure of struggle. My
right,
struggle may not be your struggle,
right.
but we share the same common denominator that eventually God's going to bring us out.
God is gonna bring us out. Right,
No matter what my struggle is, no matter what my error is.
right.
Even when walking with Christ, we may err.
Mm-hmm.
The Bible says that not one person always done good and not evil.
Right,
There's not one person that ever walked earth that always done good and not evil. So we all going to deal with some type of struggle, regardless what it is.
mm-hmm.
You might give your life to Christ, able to give away all your stuff right away. It may take me a while,
Mm-hmm.
so we never know what measure of life struggles that anyone is in. But the podcast is to bring and say, no matter what you're going through, this is only a process to your promise. I know we all got goals. We always got desires and dreams. It's only the process. So just make small goals so you can attain your promise. Yes, ma'am.
That was good. That was really good. Even to the point about going through our process, even after we gave up ministry. I think it was like 2008,
2009 to
2000.
2014, 5 years.
Yeah, we gave up ministry 2009 to 2014 because by him going to dialysis, and it was a lot. It was a lot on him. We
You
went.
still was serving though.
We were serving. We went and we went under another ministry.
Hmm.
We went under another ministry where, um, after going through that whole process of dialysis, you receive your promise, July 17th,
Hmm.
and that's when you got your kidney transplant.
2011.
2011, 2011, July  17th is when he got his kidney transplant. And talking about somebody was happy. When he got the call, we had to rush him to the hospital. I think we got there in like 15 minutes. Up in Philadelphia. Nah, so say we probably got there like 20, 25 minutes. But
It
we were,
seemed like that
yeah, we were
of
flying.
anticipation.
Yep, we were, and I was so happy. We was all happy, that he finally reached that promise, because that was a whole process by itself. Is
Wow,
that
that's
he
heavy.
reached, yeah, that he reached that promise where, you know he got a second hand on life. God has blessed him, for him to receive a kidney. And then even to the point about that, we still didn't jump back into ministry. We didn't.
3 years later.
Yeah, 3 years later, after he, after going through his recovery, and going through that, then we launched back out and went back in ministry. Went
That's
back in
that's a
ministry.
point by itself,
That's a process. you know
right? Because after going through your process and your surgery of preparing for your promise,
mhm.
there is a point, there's a time when we have to recover.
Yes.
Because after a major surgery or any surgery, they send you to the recovery room,
Mhm.
and they make sure that there's no hiccups, there's no um, reaction to whatever surgery or whatever thing you went to the hospital for, procedure you went for. They always send you to the recovery room so they can watch over you.
Mhm.
And I believe in that recovery time, God had placed somebody to watch over us
Yes, he did.
to make sure that we don't flatline or give up
Yep.
from the
Yep.
procedure we just went through,
Wow.
from the
Wow.
surgery, which is we call the
Wow.
process, the surgery we just went through, to
Mhm.
make sure that they're going to be fine. So when they leave here,
Mhm.
they can walk into their promise.
Yes, that was good. Yep. Yep. Yeah, he placed us somewhere, where we were healed. We went through a healing. We needed to go through a healing process, through the whole thing.
And I believe, and this is biblically based. I believe your the podcast. Am I
Mhm.
correct? So, um, the Bible said that some plant,
Mhm.
some
Some
water,
water, but
but
God
God
is the increase.
yields the increase.
Yes.
And I said this before that plenty of times a lot of people have overstayed their welcome with the planter and keep the person that's assigned to water
Mhm.
waiting, in which they're not producing the increase.
Right.
So they wonder why they're stuck. Because sometimes, because of soul ties, we stay with the planter.
Mhm.
And the water, the person that's assigned in the next phase of our process, is waiting.
Mhm.
The person that's assigned for the next stage of life, the waterer, is waiting.
Mhm.
So we have to find the person that's assigned the water so we can yield our increase.
Yes.
I'm glad that we were able to locate the next
That
phase,
next phase.
the watering phase.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
The
We had.
ground was already planted, the great seed was already planted.
Mhm.
But in the next phase, who's assigned to water?
Right.
So we found that fountain.
Right. Right.
Once we found that fountain that poured their life into us, we was able to maintain and receive the increase.
Mhm. Yes, that was good. Yep. That was really good.
Didn't mean to take up all the time, but I have a gift to gab.
Yeah, you do. You do. You have a gift of gab. But it's okay. It's all good because we're just really, I believe we're helping someone. We're helping someone with this, because we tend to keep all our process. We tend to keep everything to ourselves of how we overcome. How we overcome. The Bible said we overcome by one's testimony, and I really believe that this would be a help. To some people that are out there trying to figure out their process, or they're stuck in their process, and they keep going through this cycle.
Have to find the next phase.
They
If, you,
keep
if
going
you're in
through
the
this
beginning
cycle.
stage or the planting stage, you get knowledge from everyone. You're reading books, you doing webinars, all of
Hmm.
this to find out.
Mm-hmm.
to get information, which is good.
Right.
We should gather information, whatever we're trying to do. And then the next phase is who's assigned the water, who can make this what I'm trying to do come to life.
Mm-hmm.
Real quick, I just want to share this that even in our process, the Bible says that He put them orders and we can what?
Bear.
Then we can bear, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that means that we have a limit. We have to know our limit.
Mm-hmm.
So our frustration came because I went beyond my limit,
Right.
beyond what God can bear. Until we broke it down to daily goals,
Mm-hmm.
we were able to maintain and get things established and get the ball rolling because we knew our limit.
Right.
Each day, what we can bear changes because life changes.
Right.
One day, our limit might be, "Hey, how you doing, Bridget?" The next day, my limit might be, "Oh, heck no."
Right.
Because our limit changes by life situation scenarios.
Right.
So once we know our limit and how much we can bear, we can get a lot done. I
Right.
just want to share that right
Yes.
there. Know
Uh,
your limit.
know your limit. We I thank you, babe, for coming on my
Rabbi.
podcast. Rabbi. You want to be called Rabbi? I thank you for coming on my podcast.
You're welcome.
The process to your promise. I know this won't be your
Rabbi,
last
thank you.
time. I stop playing, babe. I know this is not going to be your last time coming on here because you have a lot to say. Not just the gift of gab, but you have a lot to say as you being a pastor son, a pastor kid, a PK. Um, as if you being a pastor your own self now, being apostle, the prophet of Rhema Christian Worship Ministry, um, where we have service 619 Mulberry Street, 6 o'clock in the evening, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. If you're not busy, come on out every Sunday. Um, that's
The
my
commercial break.
commercial break. uh, we you have a lot to say, and I greatly appreciate you coming and sharing everything with us. Even your own personal struggles. You know, um,
I didn't get too much into that, but
yeah, he didn't get into much of that. There's gonna be a time where he's gonna get into that. If he chooses to. So with that said, thank you for tuning in to the process to your promise. I am your host, Lady Bridget, along with my husband,
Rabbi Asa Rankins.
Rabbi Rabbi Asa Rankins.
No, it's not.
Um,
It's Asa Rankins.
stay tuned for the next episode of Process to Your Promise. You be blessed.